How you doing, everyone? My name is Ryan and this is Ade, and welcome back to another edition of Box Talk. Today, a fight the fight fans won. Look at all the forums, look at all the things just going on in boxing. The fight at 154, everyone's been calling for. The guy who never gets a break or gets a shot. Erislandy lara takes on Canelo Alvarez. What can I say? It's a fight that, in my opinion, take out Floyd Mayweather, who's going to fight at 147, makes the #1 person in the division. Ade, what do you think?
That's a good introduction, my friend. That's a pretty damn good introduction.
It's always a good introduction.
Look, I'm going to echo something I've done echoed before, but you guys wouldn't have seen it. It was on an Erislandy Smith Lara video that unfortunately the fight got cancelled. Well, I say unfortunately. Fortunately, the fight got cancelled. And what I said on that video, I'm going to repeat now. Lara is the best fighter you guys don't know about. Now, obviously, we've got a lot of boxing fans that watch our videos, but we get a few non-boxing fans as well. People that are casual fans, as they call them. And to a casual fan, Lara can walk past you on the street and you have no idea who this guy is. But believe you me, guys, he's the best boxer out there that you don't know about. And like Ryan said, this is the best 154-pound fight that can be made. And props to both of them. I mean, everyone talks about Alvarez taking easy fights and blah, blah, blah. Alvarez, you know, let's look at his last 3 fights. Mayweather, Angulo, and Lara. Not easy fights, people. He's going for it. Yeah, Angulo's a bit of a punch bag, but he can still bang. He's going for it now, and big props for him to calling out Lara and for Lara taking the fight.
Yeah. Before we actually look at the fighters themselves, what I want to look at is at the fighters as a whole. And this is what you normally get in boxing. You get a young guy fighting an old guy. You get the old guy fighting the young guy. You got the person with the title who don't want to defend against the #1 contender. You get all this type of politics around in boxing. Yeah. In this fight, you got 2 young guys, the 2 best in the division. Forget pound for pound ranking and so on and so. It's legitimately 2 legit fighters at their peak, in their prime, with all the marbles. I mean, like I said, forget the belts, forget whatever. Canelo's got a title, Lara's got a title, it makes no difference. That's irrelevant to the fact. Yeah. You've got a real fight here, where if it turns to a boxing match, a slugfest, or if it turns into a disqualification, it is legitimately the 2 best guys there.
No, that's a very, very good point you made, Ryan. Look, normally when, as Ryan said, normally when you have these kind of fights, or when a big fight's made, there's always seems to be an excuse on one side. Someone might say, okay, yeah, but he's fighting that person after he had a loss, or he's fighting that person who's on the way down, or he's fighting that person who's a bit punched. These 2 legitimately are fighting each other right now at their peak. Forget Alvarez's performance against Mayweather. Look, he fought the pound for pound #1 for the last 4 or 5 years. No shame. It wasn't that much of a beating. Yeah, he got pot shots in the field. He was outclassed. That's all it was. Yeah. He was a bit weight drained. Yeah. He's come up. He had a fight against Angulo. Looked good. Yeah. You know what I mean? And to me, he's taken on, for me, and people might argue it's a guy that is, I think, in the top 5 pound for pound. I really think that Lara is that good.
See,
but, hey,
I believe Lara's that good as well, but I don't think he wants a pound for pound ranking right now, and that is no fault of his own. It's due to
got one.
It's due to the boxing press and fraternity that, and not the boxing fraternity. It's the promoters and the background people that don't give Lara the fights. I mean, when Lara came up and he first had his let's call it his first marquee fight against Paul Williams, they robbed him in that fight and they kind of pushed him to the corner. He's been fighting good guys, fighting the top guys in the division. Recently, he had to fight with Austin Trout. Yep. Even though Trout was coming for loss, like we touched on earlier on, but it's one of those situations there whereas he's got all the skill, all the ability, but he's one of those ghosts of the division where he's a danger man. The money's not going to be there good for him. He doesn't have the name recognition. So for Alvarez to do that, top props. Ade, think about the fight now. Tell me, what do you think? Stylistically, how's the fight going to play out?
Before I do that, and I'm going to do that, before I do that, there's something brewing under this fight for me. All the videos, I get a lot of stick for saying, oh, Mayweather's not got a fight in September. There's something about Canelo. I feel like there's some sort of triangle here. Canelo Alvarez fights Lara. Sorry, Canelo Alvarez fights Mayweather. Mayweather beats Alvarez. Erislandy Smith, who's Mayweather's protege or whatever, was supposed to fight Lara. They almost let Erislandy Smith take step aside money. Yeah. You know, which would you've not heard one thing out of his mind. And this would have been a big fight for Erislandy Smith. You've not heard one thing out of his mind. It's almost like, I feel like they're almost waiting to see how Lara looks against Canelo. Because right now, no matter what people say, there is absolutely nobody for Mayweather to fight in September. If Lara does well against Canelo, mark my words, guys, we're having Lara Mayweather. It's almost trying to build up of Lara's name, I think. If Lara does win against Canelo, mark my words, I said it here first, April 18th, Lara fights Mayweather in September.
That's a very good point. The reason why, even though Lara is the B-side in this fight, he's going into a Showtime pay-per-view event, which means that instantly will take him from a domestic level name to a household, to a pay-per-view type of name. If he puts some type of performance he can put on, sometimes people say his performance has been a little stinky, because he's outboxing, outclass people, but we know he can punch, we know he can fight, we know he can mix it up. If he puts on the type of performance he knows he has to put on, that makes him a legit marquee name. Look, when you look at other fighter guys in the division, look at like the last Amir Khan who wanted a match with Mayweather, look at Danny Garcia, the guys they talk about for Mayweather. These guys are not pay-per-view fighters. These guys have never been on a pay-per-view fight where they headlined. So for Lara, it's his time to shine.
I genuinely believe that. And look, Floyd Mayweather never struggles at 147 the weight. He's always on the way. But you got to look at the 147 division. I think Ryan said it. Every time we talk about who's Floyd Mayweather fighting next, for some reason everyone's thinking about 147 fighters. Floyd Mayweather is a 154 fighter. Yeah. He can fight at both weights. Right now, to me, there's no one at all, not even Pacquiao people, legitimately, that I want to see Floyd Mayweather fight at 147. Yeah. I would pay to see Floyd Mayweather fight Lara if Lara convincingly, and this is not a given, beats Canelo, which is not a given whatsoever. But let's go back to what Ryan said first of all. Stylistically, how does this fight play out? One thing that's always been against Canelo, I don't know what it is. I've seen a few of his fights. He definitely 110 million% gasses. After round 9, he's gone. Yeah. He's gone. There's no two ways about it. 10, 11, 12, this guy's hanging on. He could fight anyone. He could fight a guy at 130. If he's not putting you away, after 9, he starts to gas. I've not seen that with Lara. Yeah. Lara as well is a very unorthodox type fighter. Punches come from every angle. I think we mentioned this before in a video you guys didn't see. He's fought everyone. He's fought guys that are 6'2" in Williams. Yeah. He's fought guys that are power punches in Angulo. He's fought guys that are slick and tricky in Trout. He seems to have fought every single style. You mentioned this. But one thing about him, he seems to have adapted every single style.
See, the thing about this fight, what I find very, very interesting, is that they've got 2 mutual opponents in their past 2-3 fights. Obviously, you had Angulo with Lara. Yeah. And in that fight, I wouldn't say Lara struggled, but Angulo was on him. He used his strength, his roughness, and made the fight dirty, made it hard. And Angulo actually quit with an injury. The big
massive
eye
problem.
Give or take, it was a really close fight. It was a good fight. It was a really close fight. Alvarez had a better performance with Angulo because Alvarez outboxed him more and kept that range and that distance. But then when you look at the other fight with Austin Trout, Lara had a much better performance in my opinion. Much better performance. Outboxed, dominated, and took Trout out of his game than Canelo did. What that tells me is that if you look at a stylistic type of fight, Alvarez is not a slugger. He's not an Angulo type. He's more of a boxer. And the boxing style from their mutual fight with Lara tells me that he's more adjusted to fighting a boxer than Alvarez is. And taking the Mayweather fight as well, it's not that Alvarez is a good technical boxer. He has good skills, he's a good athlete, he's got everything with him, but he seems to struggle a little bit more with the more technical side, and that's what I'm going to see in this fight.
The thing for is that, look, Lara is a great technical boxer. We know that. The thing, in terms of putting the positives on Canelo's side now, he's been in there with the most technical boxer of our generation, along with probably Hopkins. In terms of technical, in terms of punch perfection, he's been in there with Mayweather. So he's probably going to think to himself, wait a minute, I'm not going to see anything technical from you that I've not already seen from the pound for pound #1 in terms of Mayweather. So his confidence should be high. Yes, he took a beating, but everyone says in terms of performance, it wasn't that bad a performance. Plus, the minor 2 pounds he had to drop in weight as well, so obviously they're trying to use the weight drain excuse as well. The confidence should be high on Alvarez's side, but I think it's a risk-taking Lara. I really do think it's a risk-taking Lara, because I think Lara is avoided for a reason. They have pushed him, shunned him for a reason.
I don't want to talk about Mayweather. I don't take nothing away from Mayweather. But what I will say about the Mayweather fight with Alvarez is that Mayweather is obviously, like I said, the best technical boxer we have in boxing right now. But Mayweather's punch selection is kind of fewer than it was a few years ago. With Mayweather, he likes the jab, he likes the straight right, he likes the sneaky body shot. With Lara, Alvarez is going to see more than just those 3 or 4 punches.
I agree.
Yeah, Lara's going to do other things. Maybe Lara's more combinations, more mixing it up, more body. You know what I'm trying to say?
A lot more punches per round. He definitely throws a lot more punches.
So even though, like I said, he's seen a lot of things in Mayweather, it's a different type of style. And you're talking about say styles make fights, style make fights. If you watch boxing, like we watch boxing every single day, there's so much small, subtle things that fighters do. Maybe the strength is his ring generalship. He's always got his distance right. He's always got his timing right. He's always got everything right, which makes it more difficult to catch him with shots. Where with Lara, he's not as sharp as maybe in that aspect, but he will do other things by getting in range, getting closer, and making it much more of a grueling fight on the body.
Yeah, let's not take hunger away from this. People always talk about different options in terms of speed, power, strength, stamina. Hunger's a huge factor in this. Lara, like Ryan said, is a B-side. In fact, that's too big a tag for him. Lara's probably a D-side in terms of fighting, in terms of fighter purses he's been getting, in terms of audiences that have been watching him. This is a huge opportunity for Lara. Let's not take this away. He'll be getting his biggest purse, he'll be fighting in front of his biggest crowd, and there's a chance of the big lottery ticket in September if he puts on a good performance. So it's a huge opportunity for Lara. He, in his mind, still thinks he's unbeaten. Yeah. Williams was a good fight. He won it. He didn't get a decision. So Lara's walking into that ring as an unbeaten fighter. Canelo Alvarez isn't. He's clearly been beaten. He knows he can be beaten. And psychologically, you never know how that can impact you. But forget all that. Who wins?
Honestly and truly, I don't like sitting on the fence.
You've never sat on the fence.
What
is going on?
I don't like sitting on the fence, but as it stands right now, I can't call this fight. Honestly and truly, I can't call this fight. I can see ways Alvarez can try to win the fight and outpoint, but I see this fight going down to the wire. Maybe a flash knockdown or two within the fight, but I see it going down to the wire and being a close, competitive decision for the other person. It's the type of fight where I think no one loses as being the loser.
Good point. Look, Ryan's right. I was laughing at him. I was taking the piss. It's a pick'em fight. It really is. We might have really given you all the props about Lara. It's because you guys don't really know about him. You know about Alvarez, which is why we've really boosted up Lara. But it is a pick and fight. We're both sitting on the fence here. I'm completely... I'm completely on the fence because as much as I like Lara, Alvarez has been there. He's been in the big fights. He's been in the big nights. This won't phase him. You don't get bigger nights than he did against Mayweather in September. He's been in them. It's a tough one.
So tell you what I like about Alvarez is his composure. Yeah, as much as he goes through things, as much as he was losing, he doesn't seem to lose his rag at all. Now I'm trying to kind of be, even when he's having good fights or bad fights, he always has that steady pace, that composure, that mindset, and he's not reckless. And I think that will help him in the fight because if he has a bad round or a tricky round, he's going to keep that consistency with him. That's something that we ain't seen with Lara because he hasn't had a chance to prove with the likes of a Mayweather.
See, the thing for me, and before we close, the thing for me that scares me about Lara in this fight, and it's not his ability, it's not what he can do, it's the judges. Lara's a B-side, C-side. If this goes close, if this is any way, shape or form close, then just put your money on Canelo winning this easy. If the rounds are close, Canelo's won this pretty easily. Majority decision, done. That's what scares me about Lara. I think Lara doesn't have to get Canelo out of there because it's going to be hard to stop Canelo. I generally don't know if you can stop Canelo. He has to win, and he has to win the rounds convincingly. But look, guys, what do you think? This is it. This is probably the matchup we've been waiting for the year for me. This is probably up there with Froch and Groves and Martinez Cotto. This is the fight I'm really interested in. Yeah. It's one of those fights I'm really interested in. I'm really happy that both people have made the matchup. But what do you think? Who wins this one? Does Alvarez's youth and strength come through? Or does Lara's or age in terms of experience in that way, in terms of his will to win, in terms of a guy that's coming to the ring, in his mind, unbeaten, come through again? Leave your comments below. Email us at
BoxTalk@hotmail.co.uk.
And guys, don't forget, for all the boxing reviews and news, go to ringnews24.com. And guys, thanks for tuning in for another edition of Box Talk.